Sure. This is actually new technology. The semi-submersible is a new bit of technology that we're bringing to Trinidad and Tobago for the first time. Vincent will give you some more details, but even with bringing this new technology in, our first priority still is safety. And that's something that we have spent a lot of time on with this new semi-submersible that we're bringing in. But importantly, also brings us efficiency, which is very important for this industry and for this economy. We've all seen the price of gas relative to the price of oil. It's important that we work efficiently in this industry for the benefit of the country and for the benefit of our company.
I think it's about 2 years in the making. This particular rig here today is as a result of 2 years of doing quite a bit of research. And why have we selected this rig? We have reserves on our existing platforms, and as Norm talk about safety, it's in a broader context in that the structural sort of strength of the platforms as they age, we want to minimize the load, the drilling loads we put on these platforms. So it was a bit of brainstorming, and then we went out to look for this type of technology so that the derrick that goes on the platform is half the loads that you would get with a conventional platform rig. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is we have traditionally lost about 3 months every year just waiting on weather to move the jackup rigs around, and we just felt this wasn't sustainable as a business, and that drove us to this technology, which allows the semi to move away very quickly and go from one platform to the other. So those are just two among many. I mean, the capacity of this rig as well, as we drill deeper wells, we need a lot more horsepower, and I think this rig supplies it. We have four mud pumps. Normally you would find 2 and 3 on other rigs. So it brings quite a lot with this type of technology.
Just one last question. Can you give us a sense of how many nationals will be employed directly by this rig?
Sure. One rig generates about 350 people a touch, core people. But then it goes all the way to the maxi taxi driver, providing transport for people to go out to the locations to be transported to the rig, helicopter attendants. It goes all the way, but the core is about 350 people just with one rig working.
Absolutely. I mean, this for us is investor confidence in practice. So it's one thing to speak about investor confidence. It's something else when you see it actually demonstrated with sizable investments like this. And as long as the environment within Trinidad and Tobago remains favorable, BP intends to continue its strong investment in this industry. And we expect that confidence to be preserved because we expect that the environment will remain favorable.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank BP for the invitation to visit the Westshire rig this afternoon. This is, a very significant development in the energy sector of Trinidad and Tobago, and it speaks volumes for investor confidence for the country in the year 2012, which, as was mentioned in the budget speech of earlier this week, is a very significant year for Trinidad and Tobago. In that speech, it was mentioned by the Minister of Finance that it is expected that at least $2.5 billion would be spent in investments in the energy sector. And he had also mentioned that BP would contribute quite a lot to that figure of $2.5 billion in 2012. And this Westshire rig is all part of the investment the company will be making in Trinidad and Tobago. It also speaks a bit to the issue of the Ryder Scott report and the situation with gas reserves in Trinidad and Tobago. The Ryder Scott report, as we have always said, is simply a snapshot at a point in time, specifically December 31st, 2010, and it speaks to proven reserves, it speaks to probable reserves, possible reserves, and exploration resources. It speaks to a proven reserve base of 13.5 TCF of gas, and it speaks to a total resource base of 53 trillion cubic feet of gas. And what the Ryder Scott report is simply telling us is that we are not running out of natural gas. It is telling us that we need to accelerate, we need to increase the rate at which we do drilling, the rate of activity in the exploration and production of natural gas in Trinidad and Tobago. And what we see behind us here, this very impressive structure behind us here, is simply a reply to what the Ryder Scott report is telling Trinidad and Tobago. So we feel very positive about what will be taking place in the economy in 2012. There are other companies in the upstream sector that are making large investments in the year 2012. And we feel from the point of view of the Ministry of Energy that this will continue to build momentum into 2013 and into the year 2014. Well, so I think
those are good sound bites.
Right.
My question now is, what does this mean in terms of jobs to Trinidad and Tobago?
what does
this type of break mean in terms of jobs? to Trinidad
Well,
and Tobago?
at the Ministry of Energy, and BP also shares this point of view, local content is critical to the advancement of the Trinidad and Tobago energy sector. It's important for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and it's important for a company like BP, because what it means is that their cost is reduced over time, because studies have shown that it's cheaper to use local resources than to import resources from outside Trinidad and Tobago. As we have seen here today, there's already a ripple effect taking place in the economy as a result of the presence of this platform, of this rig here behind us. The daily spend resulting from this from this rig is approximately $500,000 per day. That will be felt throughout the industry in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, we were told that some of the major contractors that will be working on this rig are local contractors. We have seen for ourselves the impact it's having already in Chaguaramas with the local service providers here. So in terms of job creation, it's very positive news. In terms of local content, it's very positive news.
Minister, what are some of the technological features of the rig that you learned about today that BP has brought to Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, this rig is a very impressive piece of technology. It's a brand new rig. It's the drilling contractor is Seadrill. They have another rig operating in Trinidad and Tobago right now. We toured the entire facility. We saw the hospital on board. We saw the living quarters where people would stay. I believe it could house 160 people spending time on that rig. The facilities, as I said, are brand new. One of the things that we asked about was the technology of the rig in light of the Macondo accident that happened in the Gulf of Mexico last year, April. And we were told that, of course, coming out of that, the standards for drilling global with respect to BP have changed, and those standards are included in this rig here. We were informed that BP globally is now they're now adopting the practice of planning a relief well whenever they're drilling a well, and having another rig on standby in the event of a worst case scenario.
Last question. Some nationals still question whether multinational companies like BP bring jobs to Trinidad and Tobago. What did you see here today, and what would you say to them if they still question BP's ability to do?
Well, speaking as a person who once worked for a multinational company myself, of course I was a beneficiary of a job from a multinational. But there's a certain value that the expatriates bring to your experience as a Trinidadian. They bring their knowledge and they bring their expertise. So there's a value in having a component of your staff as expatriate staff. There is also a value in having Trinidad and Tobago citizens working outside of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, we'll be in Australia in a few days' time as part of the Commonwealth Heads of Government. And one of the things that we'll be doing is meeting with Trinidadians who live in Australia. And I could assure you that many of them are there in Australia living because they work in the oil industry in Australia. So I was informed that there are now more Trinidadians working globally for BP than there are expatriates working for BP in Trinidad and Tobago. So that speaks volumes to about how our people are being developed by the multinational companies. And of course, it's not anything strange that wherever there's drilling activity globally, you always find Trinidad and Tobago citizens.